So I promised I was going to give you guys some kitty stories, so I'm going to start out with this one because he's not going to be sticking around for much longer. Yay! So I don't have a name for him. We've been calling him Damage Kitty, and he's a pretty sad case actually. So trigger warning, I will be flashing some pictures and video of him when we first got him, as opposed to how he is now. But as I've mentioned before, I work in a neighborhood bar, and I've got a reputation for being a cat lady. So I showed up to work one day, and a couple people came running out to me to let me know that there was a cat that was in really bad shape that had been coming around a couple days before. And when they first caught him, he had a wire wrapped around his neck really, really tightly. And they noticed that he also had a zip tie on top of that, wrapped around really tightly. They were able to cut the wire off, but they, couldn't get the zip tie because by then he struggled and ran off from them. And they were afraid that he went and passed away. Well, as luck would have it, he came back that night while I was working. So managed to get the other zip tie off, and then of course as soon as we got that, he went running off again, and nobody thought he'd be back. But lucky for me, I have a cat trap, so I had a friend of mine bring me the trap, and we put some yummy stuff in it, and I had him within a half hour putting the trap out. So he got to spend his first evening with me sitting in a trap in a bar, getting nom-noms from the food truck that works there. But he was in terrible shape. I mean, I'm guessing that the wires around his neck had been there for a while. I don't know why anybody would have done that, but final count, he had one wire and two zip ties wrapped very, very tightly around his neck to the point where they were cutting in. Now, from what I hear from when they took the wire off, it peeled off a lot of skin, and he bled all over the place, smelled awful, so that of course tells me infection. And I was surprised that he came back, but he did. So, as you can see now, a couple weeks later, and he's going to have a nice scar, but he's doing quite well. What surprises me the most about him is how friendly he remained. After the initial getting that stuff off, which hurt, he came back, and I thought, okay, let's test this. So I had a friend of mine come over who he had never met to see if he would be friendly with her. And after the initial, hey, who are you, came right up to her. So this one is an anomaly, because normally when we have a really abused cat, they're very leery about humans, but he is very, very friendly. So I was really happy that we have a home lined up for him. And he'll be going soon. But this just took a couple rounds of antibiotics, a lot of TLC, a lot of food, because he was definitely starving. I think the first night he was with me, he ate his weight in cat food. But he's filling out really nicely. Yes, and you're very pretty too. You're almost pure white. You have a little bit of blonde on your tail. But you're almost pure white and you're very friendly. And he's going to be going to an older gentleman who is a cat person and who is really missing having a cat and wants a companion. And since this gentleman stays at home most of the time, he's the perfect match for this cat. And that's something that I'm really, really adamant about, is making sure that I match the right cat to the right person. So if it would have been somebody who was like, mother of 3, 2 full-time jobs and going to school, that wouldn't have been a good match for this cat. But a retiree who stays at home most of the time and loves cats and wants a cat that's going to sit on his lap and love on him, this is the cat for that person. So we got a good match, huh? You're going to be so happy. Yes, you are. You're going to be very happy. But yeah, I don't know if you can see here, but he also has whiskers were burned off a little bit. And he has some marks up here. So yeah, this was a pretty bad abuse case. I'm just really, really surprised at how well he's, still acts around humans. I thought I was going to be, when I first heard about this cat, I thought it was going to be okay. I'm going to trap this cat and it's going to be like hiding in the back of a, quarantine cage all the time. And as soon as I let it out, it's going to go right under my bed or something. But no. No, he only had to stay in quarantine for about 4 days. And he didn't like it. He wanted to be out with people. But this is one of my great success stories for this year. Yeah, we had a sucky year, which I'll talk about in later videos, about how much this year sucked for us with the cats. But this one kind of makes up for that, because we have a success story. And I'm really glad that we're going to get this cat to a really good home. And I know the person he's going to, and I know that that person is going to make him a very, very good home. So, and that's why I do what I do. And I'm glad I'm able to share this with everybody, so, you guys can see how wonderful cats are and how they don't deserve the abuse that they get. And out of all the animals people keep as pets, cats seem to get the short end of the stick all the time, don't you? Ever since, like, the medieval times, y'all were evil. So this is the no-named, well, I call him Damaged, but this is the no-named kitty who is going to have a very happy ending. And in later videos I'll talk about some of the other cats. Some are great stories like this, others not so great, but I think it's important that people, get to see not only what I do here, but also get to hear the stories about the cats and, get to meet them when, I'll talk about some that aren't with us anymore, but I will definitely be introducing you to the cats that are here. Okay? Here, say goodbye-bye.